Welcome to the Infinite Soul Path, Cosmic Conversations, where we uncover the deeper spiritual journeys of extraordinary individuals. I'm your host, Debbra Lupien, and each week we'll dive beyond the surface to explore what sparks their joy, feeds their soul, and connects them to the infinite, inspiring you to embrace your own boundless path. Today's guest, Janet Conner, is a prayer artist, deep soul explorer, and best-selling author whose transformational journey has inspired the multitudes. Guided by her divine soul, she turned life's greatest challenges into spiritual tools for transcendence and empowerment. Her breakthrough book, Writing Down Your Soul, became the foundation for a body of work that includes the Lotus and the Lily, a mystical prayer practice transforming past wounds into a fertile ground for creation. But Janet's soul had an even greater calling, taking a deep dive back to rediscover the origin of women, reclaiming the truth of who they are. Through her inspired work, she's helped pave the way for the return of the divine feminine, goddess of love, to the collective consciousness. As a field guide in the mystical arts, Janet invites all who seek to embrace the magic of their soul and reclaim their divine essence. And now let's welcome the extraordinary prayer artist, Janet Conner.
And I am so grateful for this invitation to be with you, to talk about a transcendental life, to talk about the goddess at the core of who women really are.
I'm just so honored to have you here. Who better than a prayer artist to bring the expertise, the wisdom, and the love? Because we can't forget that love is our most powerful tool. And when we combine that with prayer, now we're unstoppable.
So I have a story to tell you and to tell everybody listening who's going, prayer. I was awakened in the middle of the night. Once again, I've got my little pad of paper with me on February 24th, 2018. Big year. Although I didn't see it coming. I'm just sleeping, and I'm awakened in the middle of the night, and I clearly hear in my left ear, left matters. I clearly hear in my left ear a divine feminine voice, and it only said two words, prayer artist. Even as I heard it, I curled into the fetal position, and I'm usually a pretty trusting, I receive my dictation, I write it down, I get to work the next morning in deep soul writing. This one was like, so I curled up in the fetal position, but I did reach over to the yellow pad of paper and I wrote the words prayer artist. The next day, in deep soul writing, we needed to have chats. So I addressed the beloved vibration of Sophia and I said, oh, yeah, we need to talk about this. And we wrestled for a day. The next day, Sunday the 25th, I woke up and immediately made my coffee, must have coffee first, and went back to wrestling about this word. And in writing, and I only write by hand, and I have 27 years of journals, and so I can find this actual page, proof that this happened. So I'm saying to beloved vibration of Sophia, and I'm starting to cry. And I said, I do not know what this means. And I'm pretty sure it changes everything. But if you want me to be your prayer artist, I will be your prayer artist. I had barely finished that sentence and the first prayer came through verbatim. It's called Sometimes I Pray, and I cry every time I read it because this was the beginning. So it did change everything. By March, so this is a matter of 3 weeks, I bravely, or maybe more accurately, terrifiedly, if that's a word, sent out a newsletter announcing, and I really felt like, excuse me, who's writing this newsletter? What's going on here? I announced that I would no longer be teaching my books because I was making a living teaching Writing Down Your Soul, teaching soul vows, teaching find your soul's purpose, teaching the Lotus and the Lily, plus 2 creativity courses. And my entire year was full. But I needed to make room for prayer. And so my hands wrote this newsletter and said, I will no longer. This is the last year I'll be teaching those courses in order to create space for prayer intensives. Now, minor detail, I had no idea what a prayer intensive was, but I was creating room for it. And so I stopped my very successful 6-year radio show, The Soul Directed Life. I created a podcast, the Praying at the Speed of Love. I wiped out my website. I hired a brand new web designer to create nothing. It's nothing but prayer intensive. I don't know what a prayer intensive is, but we got to do it. And the very first woman who joined me in my very first prayer intensive was Kahula Hela, and she was teaching us this ancient shamanic Hawaiian prayer of forgiveness. So there we are. And 75 people or so were with us, because somebody was interested in this prayer intensive thing, whatever it was. And suddenly a woman who I knew a little bit about, she had been in previous course workshops with me. She lives in Canada. And I knew a little bit about her personal story, and that she had paid the highest price you can from walking away from a fundamental religion, losing her family, losing everything. In this case, she walked away from a fundamental Islam. And here she was, learning the Hawaiian shamanic prayer of forgiveness in a thing called a prayer intensive. And she suddenly glared at me through the camera and screamed, "Prayer, I hate that word. Houston, we have a problem. I call myself a prayer artist. I can't change that. It's non-negotiable. So you want me to be your prayer artist? I'm your prayer artist. I don't know what it means, but all yours. And I'm doing prayer intensives. I knew that was non-negotiable. And she made me prayer. Boy, did she ever give me a gift. Because up until that time, I had not opened my shelf. You can see those large navy blue books in the background. That is fine print OED, the Oxford English Dictionary, the Bible for all writers, right? Up until she said, I hate that word, I had never read it. So I open it. I'm sitting right here. And I start to cry. The dictionary definition for prayer is appalling. It's evil. It's a lie. I hate prayer too, if that's what prayer means. Because in that dictionary, as well as Merriam-Webster's online dictionary, any dictionary, prayer is defined basically with 3 phrases. So the dictionary indicates that there are 3 components, 3 definitions of prayer. Number 1, supplication. That's the only verb. Supplication. The only thing I and everyone who prays get to do is beg. Okay, so I'm not too crazy about that definition. Who wants to spend their life on their knees begging? Number 2, the second bullet is, who are you begging? Who are you supplicating? A God figure. Now, in our 5,000 years of patriarchal history, the dictionary doesn't even have to say a white male God figure. That is so assumed that God is this cranky old white guy with all his rules and judgments, and he's watching you and he can't wait to catch you doing something. Oh, please. Okay, so I'm supplicating, I'm begging this white male God figure. And the third part of the definition is following a formula. Oh, I hate prayer too. And so who wrote those formulas? Every single one of our patriarchal religions has a white male God. And the intermediaries are all, or have been until very, 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 very recently, men. rabbis, imams, priests. There are now female rabbis. Thank you very much. We have a long way to go in the rest of the religions, but hey. And who wrote the rituals? Who wrote the formulas? Who wrote the words? I don't think a whole lot of women were writing, let us say, the Apostles' Creed, right? So I had that OED open on my lap. I'm crying. And the way I handle everything is I pick up a pen and have another conversation with my beloved vibration of Sophia, Our Lady, Queen of Magicians. She has 4 names now. She's always adding one. And I said, I hate prayer too. Why do you want me to be a prayer artist? And then she gave me my marching orders. Redefine prayer. Restore prayer. Revitalize prayer. Renew prayer. Get people to fall in love with prayer. You don't need a new word. You need to bring this word back home. Oh, okay. So that's kind of a big assignment. It's taken me 6 years. Deborah, it's taken me 6 years. I have slowly listened to how prayer wants to be defined. And there's no supplication. There's no white male God. There's no ritual. And prayer is the most delicious, delightful, ecstatic thing you can possibly do. Prayer is joy. I won't give you all 7 definitions, but the first one is love songs. Prayer is love songs. Now, I didn't intellectually make that up. It happened because these prayers kept coming, sometimes twice a day. And then my job, I write them, whether it's at night or during deep soul writing. And then I come in here and I open Word and I have to type it up. So I was typing up one of those prayers. So I'm just sitting here reading this prayer out loud, and my body began to move. And I didn't, I'm not paying any attention, but I began to notice that there was a ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. And I went, they're lyrics. These prayers are lyrics. I'm not a musician. I'm writing lyrics. And that's when that first definition came. Prayer are love songs between you and the beloved, however, they're love songs. The OED doesn't have that definition.
OED cannot conceive of that definition. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Isn't it though?
It is.
I mean, right away, it just opens prayers, love songs. I can dance them, I can sing them. And of course, everyone can receive their own. I do have a lot, but I am not the author of prayers. My job is to teach everyone, to share with everyone. Prayer is in you. Prayer is you. Prayer is moving in and through and as you develop your own prayers. The second definition, and maybe this helps kind of, well, I just want to blow open the doors on what people think prayer is. The second definition is medicine, sacred medicine. So real prayer opens your heart. It cherishes your body. I'm telling you, none of those prayers I said as an Irish Catholic kid cherished my body. Right away, there goes patriarchal prayer. What do you mean it cherishes my body? It rearranges my mind. So it's this medicine, it's holy medicine that activates in me who I really am.
It just hit me. The love songs, they're wooing you.
Exactly. I always feel they're like those kisses. She's kissing me right here. They're kisses. They're love songs. Think about some rock star singing some sexy, fabulous, and everybody in the stadium is gyrating to. That's a love song. Well, the divine love songs are every bit as evocative, as powerful.
You are busting paradigms left and right and
Well,
hiding.
that seems to be my job. And so when I said yes to deep soul writing and yes to prayer artist and eventually yes to witch, yeah, and it's all about, I think, who I really am. I am about redefining, reinvigorating, restoring these precious, original, feminine, divine feminine. Prayer is feminine. The masters and teachers of the Akashic Record once, when I came to them for a little help with what is prayer, prayer artist, they opened the conversation showing me. Now I didn't see it. They gave the visual to Laura Lynn Bunn, who then communicated it to me. But listen to this visual. So they said they were showing me 6 women dancing around a fire in flowing, soft, delicious cloth cloaks. The fire is magnificent. We're outside at night. We all have flowers in our hair. We're laughing and dancing and singing. This is how women prayed. This is how we pray. This is original prayer. Love songs, love dances, love invocations, outside, under the moon. That's prayer.
And it's also healing. From that love is the healing energy that so beautifully encapsulates the divine feminine. So when you talk about Sophia, who is Sophia to you?
It's quite a story. So here's the story. I teach this annual workshop course book, The Lotus and the Lily. Lotus is Buddha and Lily is Jesus. And we listen very carefully to their teachings on how to create a beautiful and abundant life. And it's not the law of attraction. It's not manifestation, which is really spiritual materialism as it's taught. It's pretty radical. And it turns out they said exactly the same thing. What? 600 years apart, they said exactly the same thing. So I obeyed my instructions and created this book and this course, The Lotus and the Lily. And the probably most pivotal, important week in this 4-week process is forgiveness. And so I received this meditation called Release Your Prisoners. And on that particular day, December 1st, 2014, I'm leading 100 people in this meditation. And in this meditation, we go down into our bodies and discover that every single one of us has a prison in our second chakra. And we have stuffed all the people and situations that we feel harmed us, hurt us, don't understand us, and we have made them prisoners in our bowels, so to speak. So in this meditation, it's not like going to therapy. You don't sit down and go over the story again and who did what. No, you just open the gates, the prison door, and you walk in and it's stinky and smelly and creepy. And to think this is in your body, it's like, well, okay. And then you walk up to every single cell and you open it and you simply tell. Now you recognize right away, oh yeah, I know who you are. And all you do is say, you may go now. Please leave. You're free. Go. And within a very brief period of time, the prison cells are empty. And then you crawl to the back, the very last, creepiest, darkest, most horrible cell. And you know who's in there, don't you? Yourself. And you let yourself go. It's an incredible meditation. So I was simply leading everybody in that meditation. And it was the first year that we had opened a trap door and let the ancestors out. I was like, well, okay, look at that. By the time the meditation was ending, I didn't feel well. And I don't get sick. Thanks to deep soul writing and a divorce, I don't get sick. So I was like, whoa. So I couldn't do any work. I couldn't do all of the marketing I was planning on doing on my next book that was coming out in the spring, Soul Vows. I was completely non-functional. I did know I better start drinking some water. Because I couldn't leave, I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't. All I did was sit in my reading chair downstairs, and I had these books piled on my reading table, and I had always a journal in my lap. And I'd do a little reading, and then I'd do a little deep soul writing, and then I'd go to the bathroom, and then I'd do a little reading, and I'd do a little. The only books on my reading table in December of 2014 were about the divine feminine. Not that I planned that, but somebody did. So I had 3 of Margaret Starbird's books, starting with the most famous, The Woman with the Alabaster Jar, but I also had Bride in Exile and Lost Legacy. I just read them. I mean, there was nothing I could do. Get up, go to the bathroom, come back, read a little more. I had Cynthia Bourgeau's The Meaning of Mary Magdalene, which I love dearly and have now read 8 times. I was rereading that. And I also had a much harder book to read by a German theologian translated into English, and it was all about the divine feminine. And in this book, she traces, if you start with the image of the dove and Venus and Mot and Aphrodite, and she just keeps tracing through time all the way up to the dove landing on Jesus's left shoulder in the Jordan River. And she clearly says that everybody that was there, every first century Palestinian knew exactly what that was about. And it wasn't a white male voice saying, "This is my son." That was the goddess saying, this is my boy. So I read that. And on December 26th, now listen to that date, it's the same date years later that love was given to me. On that date, I had done a little bit of reading, and then I picked up my journal to do a little bit of soul writing. And I was right behind it, and I began to write DG, or tried to write DG, which is short for Dear God, which is how I started writing in 1997. My hand wouldn't move. And I was annoyed, like, come on, people, don't do this to me too. I could not get Dear God out of my hand. On its own, it wrote Beloved Vibration of Sophia, exclamation point. That was the moment. That was the moment that Sophia announced herself, the divine feminine, with a very particular name and exclamation point. You got to include the exclamation point. And the feeling, Deborah, the difference in the feeling between writing Dear God, comma, and Beloved Vibration of Sophia, exclamation point, is dramatic. And I had a loving, wonderful relationship with Dear God. Dear God is the source of deep soul writing. That was the source of the Lotus and the Lily. That was still who I was writing about in Soul Vows, because that book was ready to be published the following year. I had this long, intimate, wonderful, magnificent, miraculous relationship with DG. It got sort of abbreviated to GG. But this is completely different. When you invoke the divine feminine in your hand, in and through and as you, everything changes. And that was a moment, the moment, maybe the most important moment of my life, in which I realized the price a woman pays for worshiping a white, male, judgmental, law-spewing, judgment-spewing God. That God does not fit in this body. She fit perfectly. She fit every cell of my body, and everything changed in that moment. Everything changed. And the little proof of it is On January 9th, I finally felt better. I went, whoa, I'm back. I'm functional. This is great. And I looked back at December 1st when it started, and I realized I had been sick for 40 days and 40 nights. Hello? What? I mean, I was initiated. Not that I planned it, but she did. So, right after I felt better, I contacted my friend that does angel guidance readings. And the first question I asked is, why was I so sick? The angel said, you weren't sick. I felt like saying, well, maybe you should have been here. Don't tell me I wasn't sick, but I'm not going to have an argument. They said you weren't sick, you were being fed. Oh, so now I have this completely different understanding of that initiation. In order for her to arrive and fit in this body, everything that wasn't her needed to quite literally be released. So now every single day, I always write beloved vibration of Sophia exclamation point. But over these years, she's added Our Lady of the Thresholds. She added the Queen of Magicians. Oh, I mean, it's just, and I have to use them all. And then the last one, new this year, is Goddess of Fire. And they're all a little different. They're all like aspects of the sacred feminine, of the divine feminine. I love them all and I write them all. And if she gives me any new ones, I'll add them. But at the source, at the foundation, is what that theologian saw, that Sophia is the red thread, is the trail of the divine feminine through all time. Time that goes way back before any of those patriarchal sky god religions.
Yes.
So did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. And it brings up another question. So now you've taken the deep dive. You've gone to the origin of women. How much did your life change at that point?
Completely. I have described this. This was not a conversion. You know, we use that language, you converted from this to this. This was an inversion, a complete. And I didn't realize it at the time, I was seeing the world the way it was in the period of the goddess of matrilineal lineage, of matriarchal goddess. Think of the island of Crete, what we know from the anthropological and artistic record about life in Crete. And Crete was my understanding, I've tried to read as much as I can, sort of the last bastion of the goddess temples and the goddess life and the goddess culture. And it was all reverential for women, for women's bodies, for children, for art, for music, for fish, for dolphins. It's all that beautiful art of people dancing and the men are playing musical instruments. There is no weaponry, none, zero. There are no, we see in the artistic record constantly, here's the conquering hero and he's got the slaves in chains behind him, and then here's the urn or the whatever to prove that he's this great leader. None of that. So I have done, Carol P. Christ is a wonderful place to start with this understanding of what was it like when women were not second-class citizens, when women were not stuck in a little box, just like patriarchy stuck prayer in a box. Whoa, it stuck women in a box. And this is continuing to this day, particularly in the United States of America, right? What was it like? What did it feel like? What does the world look like when there is only reverence? I call it her garden of reverence, as opposed to the Garden of Eden. Her garden of reverence. And once again, Deborah, Janet did not make that up. I was awakened in the middle of the night. This is like this recurring story. It was during the second prayer intensive with Kahula Lahela on the shamanic prayer of forgiveness. And it's sort of, Kahula Lahela and I didn't plan this, but it turned out to be an intensive all about sexual abuse. Oh, it was hard. And everybody was spilling their stories about sexual abuse, and we were cutting these patriarchal aka cords. It was brutal, beautiful, and healing, but you couldn't look away, and you couldn't not hear the stories of your sisters in this intensive, telling these horror stories about their sexual abuse, their daughters. So I was getting really angry. And I was reading books about patriarchy. And I was, it's kind of a nice parallel to what a lot of us are feeling right now. I was really lost in anger at patriarchy. And I couldn't I couldn't come out of that black hole by myself. So she woke me in the middle of the night once again and said, it wasn't a power structure. It was a reverence structure. In other words, it's not that women need to be in charge, although right now in the United States of America, there are some of us that would really, really like to see that. But matriarchy wasn't women over men. Oops, my hands show. It wasn't a power structure. That's patriarchy, dominance, control. It was a reverence structure. Reverence for the goddess, reverence for women, reverence for music, reverence for dance, reverence for children, reverence for the dying. It's this unending reverence. Well, what does a reverence structure look like? It doesn't look like the world we have created right now. And so from that moment on, I have said yes to anything she asks me to create and offer to the world that in any way helps heal this wasteland and help us move closer to living with reverence. But the first place it starts is reverence for yourself. And if you're stuck in that place of, well, God doesn't love me and God's got all these judgments, and you've got to start with, my body is holy. I am her vessel. I am her sacred treasure of life. It starts there. And growing up, not a lot of us women, not little girls, were not taught that you are the embodiment of the creatrix of the universes. Your body is holy. No, what are we told? When you start getting your period, they say, oh, it's the curse. I don't know. I hope young women don't use that language now, but that's what we said when I was in 8th grade. Oh, I got the curse. Oh, think how different our world would be, Deborah, if a woman, a young girl, was celebrated. Oh, you are her sacred treasure of life.
It will happen, just not tomorrow. We've got a ways to go.
Because we are alive right now. It doesn't mean that we see the Garden of Reverence tomorrow, but we do our part right now to change our energy, our commitment to love, our sense of reverence. Do I have reverence for everyone that's here? Do I have reverence for the people I disagree with? Do I have reverence for the earth, the food I eat? Yeah, let's just start with, how do I embody and demonstrate and expand a sense of reverence for life?
So to keep coming back to the love song, to the reverence, the joy in connecting with divine in that way, and how powerful that love is. That's what we have to keep reminding ourselves. So, Janet, I've got a few questions that I ask everybody. And let's start with, have you ever felt like a visitor to Earth, as if you don't belong?
I had to really think about this question, because in theory, I felt like, oh yeah, all of us that are deep mystics should answer yes. But the answer is no. I I feel, and with the arrival of Sophia, I feel so embodied. I love being a human. I love being a female human. I love being on this earth, despite the fact that you know what we're doing to her. Still, look at this planet. Look at how beautiful it is. The waterfalls and the glaciers. I mean, this planet is magnificent. And so, no, I have felt like I didn't belong with that family, and I don't belong with that job. I have felt that disconnect, and I certainly don't belong in any of those patriarchal religions. But to not, no, I'm ecstatic about being a human and having the opportunity to participate in blessing and loving other humans, other animals, everybody who's here, and Mother Earth herself.
Yeah. And that's beautiful because we chose to be here at this
I
time.
chose to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why would I want to? And there's another thing connected with this. When I really dove into the goddess culture and what is wrong with patriarchal religion, my focus on what is wrong is that religion, patriarchal religions, tell us that the highest value of the spiritual life is to ascend, get out of that body, have these deep, profound. When you worship the goddess and you know that you are the goddess, it's all about descending, getting closer and closer to Mother Earth. I never use the word ascension. I avoid it because it has that meaning of the body is dirty. You got to get out of that body. The body is an instrument of sin. The body's holding you back. No, it's not. My soul made the decision to be in this body at this time, and I love being an embodied soul.
That's perfect. Thank you. So, who was the most influential person in your life?
This is going to sound like an absurd answer, but it's my ex-husband, who, by the way, he died in 2003, and you can't see him, but his ashes are right behind Joe. He's with me all the time. Now, if people have read Writing Down Your Soul and they know the story and they know that I woke on November 1st of 1996 realizing I am afraid of you, and that my divorce, it was an implosion, an explosion. It was high conflict is the euphemism. It was appalling. And I lost everything. I lost my house, my career, my savings, everything. So you might think, well, lady, what's wrong with you that the most important and influential person in your life is your ex-husband? I feel very strongly that we had a profound soul contract and that he fulfilled it to the fullest by becoming someone no one could live with. It needed to get to that point. I view him as pushing me out of the nest of middle class, work hard, be a vice president, save your money, pretty house, the happy family fantasy.
Yeah.
And he shoved me right out of that nest. And it was because of being so lost and so afraid that I picked up a pen and stumbled into deep soul writing. And then deep soul writing led to Lotus and Lily, and Lotus and Lily led and on and on and on, all the way to today. And so, and there's another really important part of this story. He died on October 6th of 2003, 21 years ago. It just so happened that that date, 21 years ago, was Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. And he was adopted, and although we can't prove this, when he finally did connect with his birth mother, one day, she only did it once, but she said, oh, and by the way, you're Jewish. So I went, wait a second. He dies on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. So I immediately started praying with him, and I said, atonement, you could do for us there what you couldn't do here. You could do for us there what you couldn't do here. And I went out to his property. I closed his business. I did, years of taking care of all of his businesses and property. And you know what? He continues to do for us there what he couldn't do here. And the big proof of that is the life insurance miracle. If people don't know that story, it's in Writing Down Your Soul. And so it's the birth canal, a really difficult really difficult birth canal, but he is the birth canal. And you, as an Akashic record person, will totally understand this. When I was writing the manuscript for Writing Down Your Soul, I stumbled upon Laura Lynn Bunn, an Akashic record consultant, at a website, The Long, Complicated, Wild, Wonderful Story. And she began to help me with understanding what's going on when you're in deep soul writing, like where are you and who are you communicating with, and are you in the records? And she said, you need to have an Akashic record consultation. You can't write about this in your book if you don't have the experience. Okay, there I am. I show up and I have no idea what's to happen. She tells me she's going to say a prayer and then there'll be silence. Okay. And I have my journal out ready to write, and I have my questions ready. And suddenly she goes, oh. And I go, is this part of an Akashic record? And then she says, your husband have a really big personality. If he's in the room, I went, oh, fuck. I said, yeah, that's him. Deborah, he spoke to me. He apologized. He explained that he needed to hurt me in this lifetime. And he said, please know how much I love you, and all good things will come to pass. And he said something that I now understand better. He said, your prayers made the changed or made my journeys faster. That I'm not saying it exactly the same way. It changed the speed of my journey. Mm-hmm. And from then, I mean, we're just in constant conversation. He's with me all the time. When my son graduated from law school, I propped him up. So, because it was COVID. So I propped him up and said, can you see? So we could watch Jerry. I did the same thing when Jerry was admitted to the New York bar. I propped him up and I turned it so he could see Jerry. We have a very intimate, close, loving relationship. He's the best husband ever on the other side.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Thank you. So, what is your raison d'etre?
Yeah, why am I here? Well, and I talked about it a little bit in our conversation. And it's now part of my daily prayers. Every single day I say, I am here to transmute prayer, witch, garden, dragon, anointing, and the newest word, the one that scares me the most, is resurrection, because patriarchal religion has stolen that word and said basically there's only one guy that's ever been resurrected, and he did it himself because he's God. And it's not exactly the full story of resurrection. Resurrection is birth, turning and returning. We are born and reborn into love. And so this is very just happening now. She's helping me to see that I used to say life, death, rebirth, as if they were three different things. And she's really wants me to understand that death and resurrection are one and the same thing. And that's the other reason I love Mother Earth and I'm happy to be here, is that Mother Earth is a resurrection machine, right?
Yes.
All the plants come back, the people come back, the clouds come back, the water cycle comes back, the air. It's all resurrection. We are all experiencing resurrection constantly. So my job is to grab those words, yank them away from the lies patriarchy has told about them, and I will be doing this work for the rest of my life. Prayer, witch, garden, dragon, anointing, and resurrection.
Yeah, we have to have another conversation and talk about the dragon part, because I know people are going to ask questions about that.
Dragon and witch. Woo!
So can you describe a pivotal moment in your life when everything changed?
Well, I did. If people just want to go back and listen, because it still is the moment. And it's that day that I was trying to write Dear God when I was so sick in that 40-day initiation, and my hand was like, come on, why are you doing this to me? And out popped beloved vibration of Sophia, exclamation point. That's this moment of inversion. That's the moment that I realized what it feels like to know that we are made in her image and she fits perfectly in these bodies. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Last question. What is the legacy you'd like to leave behind?
That's part of my daily prayers too. It's interesting. You're asking me these things. I go, oh, I know the answer to that question. I pray it every single day. In my closing prayer, I ask I say, I am a prayer artist, mystic witch, and fire keeper. Give me the courage, grant me the grace to fully embody my destiny as a prayer artist, mystic witch, and fire keeper, and guide me to leave a beautiful legacy of radical prayer, radical love, radical devotion, and radical forgiveness for prayer artists, mystic witches, and fire keepers to come. And then, because that's terrifying, I end it with Joan of Arc's famous saying, Je ne peux pas, I am not afraid, for this I was born. Now, every time I say it, I go, oh, actually I am, but je ne peux pas, I am not afraid, for this I was born. It's why I was born. And I will do this work till the day I die.
And isn't that the greatest blessing, to know what you were born for? Yes. I love that.
It's a gift, it's a blessing, and it's every morning. It's fresh, it's exciting, it's thrilling. And because I'm so clear about this, I'm like this energy vortex. Then the people who want to do these same things, they come. It comes from you and I both living our soul's divine calling, and consequently just sort of recognizing one another.
Yes, I fully believe that.
Those are great questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I so appreciate it. All right. Well, we have come to the end of our time together for now. Thank you so much for being here. I deeply appreciate it.
Go in love.
Much love to you. Bye. Coming up on the Infinite Soul Path, Cosmic Conversations, Kahula shares her inspiring story of overcoming tragedy to create Hana I Kapono, a healing modality rooted in ancient Hawaiian forgiveness principles designed to strengthen and enrich the spiritual essence within you. I'm Debbra Lupien, and it's been a joy to guide you on this journey. Until next time, remember, every story is a portal, every journey a lesson, and every soul a universe waiting to be discovered. Keep exploring, keep growing, and join us for our next cosmic conversation.